Hello, hi, y'all. It is Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? Yeah. Hold on. What day is today? 21st. All right, that makes sense. I was like, wait, that's not right. Today is Wednesday, ruled by Mercury, a white spectral world bridger guided by death today in the Mayan dream spell, but it is also a Svadhisthana or sacral chakra day. So if you're going to be doing mantras, mudra guided chakra meditations, do your sacral, get into the waters of creativity and creation, and work with that energy, right? I will be doing it. You should too. White spectral world bridger guided by death, and I will go now into what the details of that means. Un second. So, white spectral world bridger. The White World Bridger tribe is about equalizing opportunity and death. The gift of your cosmic, and it's funny because if you're a Gemini, Pluto is in our transiting for I think for 10 years, seventh house now. So it's like ha ha ha, balance and death in relationships. The gift of your cosmic identity is to be interdimensional, a bridge between the seen and unseen worlds, an emissary of neutrality, an agent of connection, a holder of cyclic change. As White World Bridger, you have the capacity to interweave realities, to go beyond beliefs of limitation, to let go of what no longer serves, to continually shed concepts of self in order to be renewed, to surrender attachments, receiving the death of any cycle, relationship, or endeavor as an opportunity for a new phase to emerge, to contemplate the wisdom of impermanence as inspiration to live this moment to the fullest, to behold our collective mortality as the greatest equalizer, each of us but a precious thread in the ageless tapestry of the universe, to walk in this world as a living link of your ancestors carrying aeons of life in your cells, in your DNA, and in your consciousness. As Gandhi said, live as if you were to die tomorrow, learn as if you were to live forever. The direction is north, refinement, chakra's throat, and planet is Mars. Spectral tone 11, dissolve, release, and liberation. Tone 11 represents the power of creative dissolution and dissonant structure. The gift of your cosmic identity is to access the power of freedom. Activate your spectral powers by releasing rigid concepts and definite notions of what should be, by being willing to explore an entire spectrum of potentiality, by surrendering to the spectral flow of spontaneous detours, seeming disruptions, and what may appear to be as chaos, by allowing structure to dissolve in order to be liberating into new possibilities, by celebrating the constructive forces of deconstruction, by learning to fluidly shapeshift, by freeing yourself and others from limiting perceptions, by letting go into the vastness of formlessness, by freeing your soul, releasing into the majesty of your full wingspan, by submitting your personal will to the great mystery as it reveals itself in every moment. And today's white spectral world bridger galactic affirmation is I dissolve in order to equalize. Releasing opportunity, I seal the store of death with the spectral tone of liberation. I'm guided by my own power doubled. So today, this Wednesday, Woden's Day, ruled by Mercury. Actually, we had a Stanley Kubrick podcast episode, group chat episode scheduled, but an Emmy winner said he couldn't come, so I told the other people I'll reschedule, and then the other girl, Angela Coons, said she was busy and had to bail on this date. So we have no podcast today, as far as I can tell. I'm just gonna be power washing the house and talking to my fiance. Shout out Haley, my divine counterpart. You are the shit. We both have a lot of room to grow, but we both have so much to offer. Ace of Swords. We've got on this day, this Wednesday, ruled by Mercury. The mind is what Mercury rules, and the swords are the mental kind of sphere. Aces are about beginnings, so we're going to get new ideas. We're going to get new ways of thinking and seeing. It should be interesting. Ace of Swords. Potent energy. Opportunities to hone your highest intellect, learn new ways to reach your true potential, embodying a powerful philosophy. Ace of Swords. I live through my highest values. I live through my highest values. The time has arrived for a significant breakthrough, the creation of a conscious intentional space in which to have a powerful insight. Conscious understanding brought to a particular issue is expanded with a clear, unique thought or a new inner voice. The result is rejuvenating, a fresh new beginning or approach to life with a renewed vision of your purpose. In this artwork, a sword is seen floating in the space of pure potential beyond a golden circle through which the matrix of life is seen. This ancient Celtic blade, weathered by time and circumstance, points upward, intersecting the sacred geometry of Metatron's cube, which is also what that is, my signifier of my betrothment or whatever. Metatron's cube. Its field of high vibrational frequencies ripple out through creation. The sword, which represents intelligence, appears to sever the umbilical cord that joins the golden fetuses floating in the distance, streaked in the dancing filaments of light. Male and female ancestral lines are limited being in the world are being severed. Limitations are being overcome. The pole shift is happening, if you could even say. The Ace of Swords calls upon you to cut away anything that doesn't move you towards your highest potential and service in the world. It invites the birth and collaboration of all your intelligences so you can live into the full force field of your life. Advanced brain mapping technologies can visually illustrate the different types of intelligence, overturning the long-held notion of innate preferences of left versus right hemispheric intelligence. For instance, the theory of multiple intelligences aims to broaden the definition so it reflects the many ways people think, learn, and act. No shoe fits the same, one size does not fit all. There's many ways to cut the cookie. This is a different way of thought than unified general intelligence or IQ. Take a contemporary dancer, for example. Their agility, skill, strength, and precision could be said to have a combination of bodily, kinesthetic, and visual spatial intelligences. Someone like Bowie, then, would have a predominant musical, rhythmic, and harmonic intelligence with an acute sensitivity to musical components and pitch. Combine this with the aforementioned intelligences, and you get an artist with a high verbal, linguistic intelligence and existential intelligence. You can hear it through his striking lyrics, which lit up the creative heart of so many people throughout his long career. This card indicates an opportunity for powerful focus. Hone all your intelligences in the spirit of great teamwork to work towards a vision of yourself realizing your highest potential, flow, and radiance. Consider fresh ways of understanding, organizing, articulating, and expressing your sense of purpose. You can achieve anything you desire. Right? The sword of truth, cutting through all the bullshit, giving us new opportunities. So, Ace of Swords is an opportunity to hone your highest intellect, get that mind as sharp as it can be, learn new ways to reach your true potential, and embodying a powerful philosophy. Being creative. It's a sacral Svadhisthana chakra day. We can be very creative and potent in the ways we imagine the thing can be, right? And by imagining with the mind, in a sense, too. And on Wednesday, Mercury ruled, we could have shocking insight into maybe ideas we haven't thought of, or things we said we would never do, we might be willing to do, that kind of stuff. Why am I pulling another one of these cards? I'll just say it came out. It's strength. So we're emboldened. I meant to go for the next deck, but hey, strength is a second kind of card. That's cool. So let's do it right, though. Mercury retrograde life. Let's get a Dreams of Gaia card, shall we? What wants to pop? We've got the Father. The Father. All right. And Odin is the All-Father. Woden's Day. Hence, it's Mercury ruled, but it's Woden's Day. This is number 5. The Father on page 44. Here we go. Fatherhood. So the Father. Keywords: fatherhood, leadership, authority, protection, responsibility, guidance, support, compassion, and control. With the Sun in Libra and the Moon in Capricorn right now, it's very, the Moon is in a Saturnian ruled thing. Our emotions might be kind of heavy. And with Libra, we're coming to a balanced place. This almost looks like a weird scale. We're coming to a balanced place with new ideas and new integrations. The center of power within the family unit. These are key phrases. A time for decisive action. A source of strength, not fear. What did your father teach you? Step up and take courage. Guide, instruct, and inspire confidence. Be interested and supportive, not critical. The buck stops with you. Fulfill your obligations. Allow others their autonomy. Share all tasks and responsibilities and step out of the Stone Age. So allowing others to be autonomous, let that side of the scale be that side of the scale, but at the same time share tasks and responsibilities. Know that you're responsible for doing you so others can be themselves at the fullest too. The Father in his ideal form is a strong, confident man who, while not believing that the world revolves around him, is very much the center of power within the family unit. He represents the family's core strength and unity. He is stillness within the storm, someone who is active in his role of provider, protector, teacher, and leader. The Father is a decisive man of action, and we're taking decisive actions mentally today with the Ace of Swords, right? Woden's Day, the All-Father. The father is a decisive man of action. He teaches not only by instruction but by example. That's very Capricorn moon and Libra sun, right? Libra sun's like, hey, let's learn, let's show each other what's going on, and the Capricorn moon's like, I'll show you how to achieve. I'll show you what to do, how to win this. He's a man of integrity and honesty, very Capricorn moon. Someone who keeps his promises and takes responsibility for his actions. He's the provider not just of financial security and sustenance, but also of order and discipline. And discipline is Saturnian, right? Where the moon is in Capricorn. He sets the rules within the family home, and they are not just rules that he sets for others, but rules he follows himself. Sun and Libra, both and. It's like, I'll follow these rules. They're applicable to both us. It's not like he's above the rules. Those rules are constants that provide safety and peace within the home while still allowing all within the space to flourish. Boundaries can be helpful. They're not always limiting. He is supportive and encouraging and also unafraid of play and laughter. So strong but playful, both and. Libra. Sun. He inspires curiosity and creativity in others with his positive influence and interest. He is, above all else, interested and affectionate. He wants to know his children and shows that he cares. He takes a proactive role in knowing his children's likes and dislikes, loves and fears, and does all that he can to have his children leave the family home as happy and confident adults. So we're coming into a place where we can have epiphanies, essentially, new thoughts, new insights, new ways of doing things in our mind, and our mind helps us operate in the reality. That's what the ego mind is all about. Prefrontal cortex kind of shifts, and we're going to be influenced in ways of what? Responsibility, integrity, value, right? Steadiness. And with the Venus in Virgo, with Mercury in retrograde in Scorpio, and with Mars in retrograde in Aries, the moon in Capricorn, sun in Libra, we're able to come to new insights, but in a very stable way, maybe a very deep way, maybe a way we have kind of overlooked before. And it's like, you know what? Rules aren't all that bad. Rules help give form, and form gives allowance for freedom, right? If I say, hey, do anything you want to a musician and I'm jamming with them, it can get very chaotic very quickly. But if I'm like, play in this key, and here's the tempo, that's minimal structure in a sense, right? There's limits and fatherhood, like guidance. But at the same time, it allows for spontaneity, ingenuity, and stuff where it's like, all right, we're in A minor and we're going to be in a swing. And it's like, okay, cool. That gives me the security to know how to be free mentally, right? We do have to have parameters. I mean, they exist. There's no total freedom is within parameter. It's not an absence of all, structure. Saturn and the All-Father is necessary at some level as much as we need other aspects of polarity and reality. Isn't it a beautiful tapestry that we're in? This crazy story, telling stories to storytellers. What a trip. What up, Leora? What up, Teresa? Hopefully everyone's doing well. I woke up at 5:30 freaking out because I had to take out the trash and I didn't have the key. I was just mentioning polarity, and it says Seeds of Polarity, Lyra. These are our four fathers, the father card. Anyway, and Seeds of Polarity are mental, because the polarity is all, it's like a perception and a belief. Anyway, I got that all figured out with the trash, but man, that was stressful. But it was nice because I woke up before the dawn cracked, so I saw like Milky Way and Orion. Mars looked crazy and big as fuck right above the mountain. I thought it was a fire at first, or a house, but it was Mars. Could see Venus. Makes you glad you're alive. Seeds of Polarity, Lyra, past timeline. As humanoid races began growing throughout the Lyran system, the yin-yang principle of duality became more pronounced. At first, the polarities remained balanced, but because our cosmic journey is about growth and integration of polarity, these polarities had to become more pronounced before they could be healed. So, I mean, we had to become at war with ourselves. Ace of Swords, in a sense, we had to punctuate very phallic, very father energy to come into a place of imbalance. Like, it was all unified, and then duality came and it was unified, and then it kind of started doing its thing, and it's become unbalanced, and now we're kind of trying to rebalance it. That's what the whole story is right now. That's the name of the game, as they say. So, but because our cosmic journey is about growth and integration of polarity, it's not about just being here and saying Om, although it can include that. Those polarities had to become more pronounced before they could be healed, right? Take a look at how polarity plays out in your life today. Do not fear it as you did in ancient times. Haley and I are very different, right? And we have a polarity kind of enmeshment, if you want to put it that way, as divine counterparts. And sometimes that can be problematic, and sometimes that can be very beneficial. We shouldn't be afraid of it, no matter how you cut it. Learn how to stay balanced even amid the temptation to choose any pole over the other. Sometimes we're like, you know what? I want to be really in my head. I want to be really masculine. And it's like, yo, that exists, but don't covet and put that at the expense of the feminine. That's what we're learning from. We've negated the feminine so much that we're having to come into like, okay, empires and war and, you know, materialism isn't probably in searching the world for answers. It's probably not the way to go. We can go inside. We can be receptive, right? We're coming into balance with that, right? Learn how to stay balanced even amid the temptation, and temptation happens. It's always, that's our ego, that's our mind, Ace of Swords, telling us, oh, maybe there's another way. And sometimes the other ways are good and helpful, but realize that you're coming from a place of polarity, and you need to be protective, essentially, and guiding yourself. Be your own mentor at some level through these temptations to pick a pole over the other. Men rule, women suck, or oh my God, divine feminine, yay, fuck men. It's like, that's not going to work. And it goes beyond just gender. It's like, oh, fuck the patriarchy. We want to all live naked in the woods and eat mushrooms. It's like, that's not going to work. That's Edenic, but we're not there anymore. So you can't put the, old wine, new wine in an old cask, as they say in the Bible. At the same time, we can't just keep going and going the Atlantean route because we're going to destroy ourselves. Wisdom comes from embracing both rather than choosing one side over the other. You don't have to say black over white, yin over yang. You have to say they're both in unity and finding balance in that unity through the diversity, within the unity. As we progress through the process of our separation from the source and our journey into polarity, our separation, our journey, our punctuation, Ace of Swords, into the dream from Father, Source. I mean, it could be Mother. You don't really have to put any, favoritism on it. But it's like we came from unity and structure, and like it's all good until like, oh my gosh, there's differentiation. That's where we're at right now. So as we progress through the process, which is life, of our separation from Source and our journey back into polarity, reintegration, the Ouroboros, this card represents the beginning era of polarity that began to manifest in the Lyran colonies that later branched out to the future Lyran colonies and the races that came from Lyra. The further fragmentation was a necessary step in our journey into polarity, but at this point in time, so it was good and necessary at that time, but at this point in time, the Lyrans were an immature civilization and didn't know how to balance polarity. I mean, they had ignorance, I guess, as a cop-out. Thus, there were times in their past that were very dark because these young beings had no roadmap by which they could navigate polarity. They often got sucked into choosing negative or positive and furthering the fragmentation. Oh, you're this way and I'm not that way, so I'm going to go this way. We're just too much different, right? It's like, it doesn't work that way. You're all part of one fucking movie. So, picking your gang and fighting the other gang. Street Sharks, Alley Cats, or whatever the fucking, I haven't seen it, West Side Story is, or whatever. It's like, that doesn't help. At the end, it's like love that transcends the duality, right? In the form of duality, man and woman having a love story, right? You see my point? It's still through duality that is happening, but we have to integrate and balance that shit. This further fragmentation was a necessary step, so it had to happen in our journey into polarity. But at this point in time, the Lyrans were an immature civilization and didn't know how to balance polarity. Thus, there were times in the past that were very dark because these young beings had no roadmap by which they could navigate polarity. They often got sucked into choosing negative or positive and furthering the fragmentation. On Earth now, during election season and, feminist rising times, we have the wisdom of our ancestors within us, Lyrans included, to help us navigate this treacherous road, and it is most likely that we won't make the same mistakes as our forefathers. Right? We can make new decisions, new ideas. We can integrate the polarity in a new way. If this card comes up in your reading, it can often serve as a warning to you to not polarize in your life now. Examine your choices and actions carefully. Even when you think you might be making a choice from a place of neutrality, look deeper. The idea of good and evil, which is a polarity many humans encounter, is really an illusion. There's no right choices. There's no wrong choices. It's all a dream. This gets tricky because then people go, oh my gosh, are people just going to rape and cannibalize each other? It's like, if that's what they prefer, and then they find themselves in a contract basically where people have agreed to play that karma out. Real heavy stuff, I know. There's no victims, there's no perpetrators. These are all stories we're telling ourselves that we participate with, right? We have to balance that polarity and not even get beyond. I mean, this is the whole Superman thing of Nietzsche, where it's like, get beyond good and evil. They're both part of the polarity. You can't just pick one. Examine your choices and actions carefully. Even when you think you might be making a choice from a place of neutrality, look deeper. The idea of good and evil, which is a polarity many humans encounter, is really an illusion. Can you go beyond those value judgments, which are labels created by the mind, right? The mind, Ace of Swords, like when we go, I like this and I don't like that. These are preferences that, permission slips, as Bashar would say. And see what lies beyond polarized reality. Can we rise above the polarity? Or are we doomed to just sit in a cycle where it loops between poles? Seesaw, tick, 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 tick. We can rise above that and have and it'll change. Like, we'll surf it differently. We won't be victims at some point, and it's like, oh my god, the Jedi are awesome, and then here comes the Sith. Oh my gosh, it's like, no, the Sith was there to balance the Force because the Jedi got fucking lazy, and they were self-righteous, and they were like, we're the Jedi, and they weren't really doing their job. They were kind of like sitting on it. So something came up to challenge them in the dream, and they had essentially, I'm bleeding Bashar thinking into it, but it's like there was a pre-carnational or however, eternal agreement made by these forces to play that drama out for their destiny. 17, wolf authenticity. You got to be you, and this is actually going to show polarity between two people in a love relationship and how they made it work. They used their heads. I mean, the seeds of polarity are represented in this little story I'm about to read. They had to use their heads and come up to compromises using their brains, like thinking about it, coming up with new ideas, basically to create stability and structure in their life that they prefer while maintaining a unity within their duality. Watch and see what I mean. So 17, which is a big resonator for myself and Haley. I'm born on June 17th. She got in a car crash, and just ask her about the number 717, right? It's a big deal for her. 17 is the star card. We both have 11th house suns. Hers is conjunct Jupiter. Mine is not. It's near my moon, but both in 11th house. Anyway, the wolf. Authenticity. Discover who you really are by revealing your authenticity. This is always the best way. You can't please other people. Sometimes you get in an ego place and your mind says, this is who I am. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is why you got to be careful. It's like, and be balanced, Sun and Libra, and not be so impulsive, be very pragmatic, Moon and Capricorn, where it's like, oh my gosh, I want to go, I don't know, go to Las Vegas, right? And it's like, maybe you want to do that, but it's like, you get there, and then all of a sudden you're just having to drink yourself into oblivion or whatever. And it's like, are you really wanting to be there? Is that authentic to you? Or is your ego telling you that you need an escape and that's how it's manifested, or whatever? Do you see my point? So, discover who you really are by revealing your authenticity. This is always the best way. We all resonate a frequency, so if you're pretending to be someone you are not, you will keep attracting people with whom you do not resonate. That's why we got to be real, right? It is necessary to negotiate a position with some others sometimes, as in polarity exists. People who disagree with you exist, and we have to negotiate, and not just, we have to come up with new ideas for what? Structure and balance. Be stewards or fathers, all fathers of our situation, right? It is necessary to negotiate a position with others sometimes, and there should be no anxiety about differences of opinion. We all have different approaches. Doesn't make you better, doesn't make you worse. And choosing to fight other, quote unquote, and take this sword and be like, I have the truth and you don't have it, or whatever, that's coming from a seat of polarity. It's all one game, and you have preferences, and if you want to play that trip, you can. So, mythos. Skadi, the plain-speaking Norse goddess of the mountains, wildness, and the unknown, was a powerful huntress, a lover of snow, and a keeper of wolves. She lived in the profound silence of nature on the high plains, surrounded by her pack of wolves, which helped her hunt and protect the realm. Although independent and beautiful, she decided it was time to be married. She goes, you know what? I'm a fierce pole, and I want my other pole. I want to play the polarity game. She chose. It's a choice. It's always a choice. She demanded from the other gods a husband as recompensation for the unlawful death of her beloved father, Fazi. Father, coming again, right? We've got the father card. Her dad was murdered or whatever, killed by a sword possibly, and she's going to the gods and saying, you owe me one. Polarity, right? It's like, I'm a victim, you're the perpetrators, you give me one. Interesting how this all plays out, right? But she was independent and beautiful. She didn't need no man, but she came to a point, she's like, you know what, I could do the relationship thing, let's try it out. So she went and started bartering with the gods and said, give me a man. She chose the god, or god, not man. She chose the god Njordr as her new husband. And, as was customary, she moved to live in her new husband's house. Njordr, however, was a sea god who lived on an island that was always noisy with the mighty crashing of waves and the screeching of seabirds. All this constant and incessant noise was too much for Skadi, who was used to the soft silence of the snow and the howling of her wolves. When she spoke of missing her true home and her desire to be more independent, she and Njordr negotiated. She didn't go, fuck you, I'm out of here. Your world sucks. She's like, no, love is important, and I'm choosing to be in love because love is a choice. I'm choosing to be in a relationship, so I'll compromise, but how does this compromise look like? Do I sit around unhappy all the time in his kingdom? No. Guess what? She figured out a way. All this constant and incessant noise was too much for Skadi, who was used to soft silence of the snow and howling of her wolves. When she spoke of missing her true home, her authenticity, right, and her desire to be more independent, she and Njordr negotiated and agreed to alternating homes every 9 days. They came up with a system. They used their heads to deal with the polarity. They had a polarity, right? but they came to a conclusion using their heads. They thought about it and how to be authentic and structured and balanced and integrous and honorable and all that, the father energy, right? They weren't just like anything goes, I will submit. It's like, no, they were both independent. They were both masculine in that sense. And they were like, we're going to keep our individuality, but we have a chemistry that's worth fighting for. So we're going to have both. We can have our cake and eat it too. So how does that look? You got to use your head. You got to adapt. You got to use your brain. So they came up with a system. Every 9 days, we'll try alternating houses. So sometimes she's at home with him in the cold, and sometimes she's over in the Seagull Island or whatever. Norder came to Scotty's mountain home, but found it to be cold and desolate of life. He's like, this sucks. It's not what I want. So white, so quiet, and depressing. He felt isolated and missed his home too. He was living out of his authenticity, right? When dividing their time between Nowton and Primere, this place, didn't work out. So they came up with a solution, and they tried it out for a while, and it didn't work. It's about adaptability, right? This is about improvising, getting new perspectives. They didn't say, oh, we tried once and we'll fail. It's like, no, we're going to try a new idea. No, now we're going to try a new idea. Now we're going to try a new idea, right? Why? Because that's the most caring and stable thing you can do given dynamics within polarity. So when this didn't work out, dividing their time every 9 days didn't work out, they decided to live apart but stay married. So they had a relationship, but they didn't, dwell in each other's midst. Or, I don't know how that works. Scotty then returned to her beloved mountains, where she hunted from her skies and lived with her cherished wolf pack. She would visit Norder and he her when they most desired each other. So when they want to bang and have alchemy, they met each other. They stayed in a relationship, but they stayed true to themselves too, finding that balance within the polarity. Wolves feature in mythos of almost all human societies that encounter them, which highlight their charisma and importance. For example, Rome was founded by Romulus and Remus, who were cared for by a suckling from a she-wolf. Fenrir, the great Norse wolf, heralded Ragnarok, the end of the world, and the Celtic Morgan kept wolves. So animal. Wolves are powerful animals. Although wolves are very social, mated pairs or solo hunters have more success than larger groups when hunting. They are found throughout Eurasia and North America and have been linked to humans, both as subject of fear and of love, for many thousands of years. Whilst wolves were often seen as a predator and pest among human communities that relied on livestock, those that were more agrarian in nature saw them as helpers, killing off animals who fed upon their crops. Wolves are larger than you think. We often think of wolves as large dogs, but should you ever see one loping around a land or in the forest in the wild, you would understand just how different they are and how much they avoid or dislike humans. Very Capricorn moon is like, I'm going to do my own thing, right? Even though they're in an environment, Sun Libra. In an environment with others. They dislike humans. Male wolves weigh on average around 45 kilograms and are built for endurance with long legs and long loping gait when one foot is placed directly in front of the other. At this gait, they can travel at speeds of around 10 kilometers an hour for many hours. That's pretty fast for that long. If they choose pursuit speed around 50 to 60 kilometers an hour, this has been observed to be held for up to 20 minutes. They can really book it if they need to for a while. They are social and expressive animals with a variety of distinct physical behaviors that enable other wolves to read intent and status. They're individuals. Sword, they're individuals. They all have their own personalities. Sword, Ace of Swords, right? They all have their own temperaments that make them feel operative in the structure of reality, in time space, yay. And some are mean and some are friendly, and the whole point is the seeds of polarity. But these wolves, and this story specifically, shows very much how to deal with polarity. They are social and expressive with a variety of distinct physical behaviors that enable other wolves to read their intent and status. Growling, head tilts, baring, teeth, posturing are just a few. Now on page 72 of those known nonverbal communication cues. Perhaps one of the most distinctive features of the wolf is their famous haunting howl, which is used as a vital communication tool amongst the pack and to other packs. We have coyotes here, and I was hearing coyotes last night and this morning, so it's kind of cool. Similar, same, but different. As wolves are highly territorial, the howl can be used to identify the whereabouts of other packs and of other individual pack members wherever they are. The magic. Call upon wolf magic when you wish to be all you can be in the fullness of your authenticity. Be all you can be. Ace of Swords. Be the fullness of who you are. That's okay, right? It's how you need to be. Be willing to adapt. Be willing to change. Don't cling so much, but be willing to be steady, firm, stable in who you are. Right? That changes through time, so know that, right? Time is a polarity machine. Here we are. So there's going to be times where you're fed. There's going to be times where you're starving. There's going to be times where you're the winner. There's going to be times where see what I mean? But at the same time, you have to be true to yourself. Paradoxically, here's the polarity, while being open to stuff, to change. So you have to have structure to adapt, but having no structure, probably not a good idea. Call upon this magic when you wish to be the fullness of your authenticity. While you do not have to be alone. So she wasn't alone, and he wasn't alone. They chose marriage. Being confident to live your life on your own terms very much embodies the energy of wolves. Wolf energy is also highly protective, and you can call upon it in workings where you feel fearful or wish for a protective ally. Symbology: packs of wolves, women on a mountain. Status: population is stable, although wolves in certain traditional endemic areas have become extinct. For example, due to hunting and habitat loss, the wolves in the Yellowstone area in the U.S. became extinct. They were reintroduced in 1995 to great ecological success. Oh, I must have dropped a bunch of stuff. Great success. I think, yeah, my Facebook just crashed. But of course, Mercury retrograde, it is what it is. I'm going to keep going. Gotta love that shit. It's just like, you know what? What can you do? What can you do? What can you do? Not much. I guess I could try doing it from my computer. I don't think the app crashes on the computer, but I don't even know. And this has happened to many people who try to turn other people onto high vibe shit. So I can move this, I guess, now. Andy Warhol. Talk about a rugged individualist who was still part of a community. Very Saturnian, very straight-faced, right? I think he was a Gemini ultimately, but very kind of like, hi, I'm Andy. Very Capricorn moon, but in Libra, he was playing with art and music and stuff, right? So, Mr. Warhol, he, talk about the father card. He started the Velvet Underground and got people like Basquiat and other people turned on to their talents and skills as artists. Very innovative. For someone who believed that every person gets 15 minutes of fame, Andy Warhol took more than his fair share as an extraordinarily significant 20th century someone. What didn't old Whitewig do? He revolutionized use of silkscreen printing for his canvas of Campbell's Soup's cans, Mao Zedong's, and Marilyn Monroe's. He founded The Factory, his studio and den of artistic debauchery. He briefly managed the seminal 1960 group The Velvet Underground and even survived being shot. A sweet tooth who ordered dessert before dinner, Warhol saturated art with pop and fueled the love-to-hate contemporary market. Go ahead and blame Warhol for everything about present-day art. He would appreciate it. That's some Capricorn moon shit. It's like, oh, you want to hate? Bring it on, right? So we're going to get the idea from Andy is eat dessert before dinner. He was known for doing that, right? Dessert first, which is very workaholics. Dessert first, dessert first. Have some new approaches. Have some new ideas about things. Everyone says, oh, dessert comes after. It's like, have dessert first. Why not? Try a new thing. Try a new way. Be stable. Don't be so radical that you're like, I only eat dessert and I don't have nutritional value. Like that might maybe going too far in the experimentation, right? But he was doing psychedelics. He was doing art. He was doing music in a very authentic, authentic and a way that nobody was doing. And it's funny because he was repurposing items. And he was like, here's a Campbell's soup can. Now let's do it in all these ways. And it's like, I'm not even creating this. I'm just remixing it in a sense, right? That's a very ingenious and inventive way of doing things with his mind, his perceptions. And he was kind of doing it from a very stable way. It was like, here's one item over and over and over again. Here's a person just through a filter. It wasn't like Jackson Pollock unstable, right? It was very practical, Capricorn moon, and beautiful and commercial, Libra sun. He was working with the ideas of polarity, even with like positive and negative imaging, right? With like the color schemes. It was like, here's how you normally see it. Now your brain is turning on a different way. You're seeing it differently, right? A new vision, a new apprehension of it. He was being super authentic to himself, to the point where people think he's a freak or a genius or whatever, but like he wasn't going to do it how other people asked. If he had just been like a burger flipper or something, he probably would have killed himself. He had to be him. There's pros and cons to that, and I'm sure, I'm pretty sure he was a devout Catholic that would always go to mass, surprisingly, or something like that. I've read like he was really, really like superstitious / religious in a sense, but you never would have guessed it because his religion was very authentic to him. And his artistic output was so individualistic, right? So eat dessert before dinner. Sometimes you got to have a little fun before you hunker down. And I think it's not to say to avoid rules. It's to say like play within the boundaries, right? What I was saying earlier, like know the song tune and the tempo, and maybe the key, and you can really jam, right? You can have your dessert. You can just jam before you write a song. You noodle around, you're like, oh, I like that idea, don't like that. Now we have a song. Now it's structured. Oh my gosh, now it's set in stone. Time, right? But that came from ideas of improvising. That came from ideas of playing around between the polarities of what? Form and no form. Like it wasn't a thing, now it is. I'm just using this song example, right? And usually songs come from an authentic place, either authentic searching in trying to jam or whatever, which I'll do in a second, or authentically trying to hold things down and say, I want to say this message through these chords and melodies, right? So we have to be true. And if we're not authentic, we're going to attract essentially realities that are good because you're never off path, but you're going to attract a frequency and a reality that is not what it could be, right? In a sense. Eat dessert before dinner is Warhol's suggestion, and I'm noted. And let's go ahead and get a card. We've got Opal. One of my favorite stones, actually. Opal. Talk about Libra Sun, Capricorn Moon. On the outside, on the emotions, in a sense, it looks all rugged and like, oh, you would never know. It's tough as nails or something. But on the inside, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. It's beyond words. It's fresh, a new way of seeing things. Oh my gosh, right? It's authentic. It's very different than other rocks, stones. What it is, opals are well-hydrated amorphous mineraloids. Precious opals are lusted after for their rainbow sparkle, aka diffraction. Common opals form in a range of colors and can deliver sensations that are anything but common. Who needs it? The all-black wardrobe set can benefit from the black precious opals' bold pop of color and spiritual protection. Not so prolific artists can ride fire opals burn. Where to put it? General rule, white and blue vibe with the head, pink vibes with the heart, and black vibes with the lower abdomen. When to use it? When you have something that needs to get moving, a project, a relationship, an energetic block. This is about movement, the beginning of things, ideas, Ace of Swords. When you need to, for your own sanity and the structure of your reality to keep going, in a sense, to overcome the polarity of like hopelessness for hope, right? Be authentic. And how do you want to get moving? Get moving, right? Eat dessert before dinner. Inspire yourself. Try different things. Eat pancakes for dinner. Who cares? Feel all your feels, it's saying. And this is good advice for the Capricorn Moon because we might be very in our heads, Ace of Swords right now, and we might be very serious, and we're like, oh, I got to control this, and oh, I got to think of this way. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen in the election? Oh my gosh, what am I going to do in my future? Oh my gosh, is the economy going to collapse? Oh my gosh. It's like, hey, feel all those feelings, breathe up, and express it in an artistic way. Enjoy life, have some dessert, but make sure you're getting your vitamins and nutrients too, right? But you can play around with the order of the meal if you want. You kind of see what I'm saying. So let's go try something new right now in jam form, shall we? I kind of set up things. Hold on. Hopefully everyone's doing well as I do this thing. Oop. Good enough. Alright, so put that down. I got a vote. I've got my mail-in ballot right here. I'm like, what do you mean you're going to make me pay for a stamp to vote? Fucking COVID. Frustrating. But it's the times we find ourselves in. And I'm pretty sure I'm voting third party. I don't know about y'all, but I'm sick of this two-party bullshit. Neither of those monkeys fucking represent me. So, yeah. Here. That helps. I'm not sure about that. My brother's like, if you do that, the world will end. It's like, okay. Ace of Swords. we have the idea of new ideas, right? Pushing boundaries, exploring, right? It's very masculine. The phallus, the sword. It's very masculine, the father. But it's about balancing that with an understanding that it has to be sheathed sometimes, that you can't just cut off everybody's ear, Peter in the Garden of Gethsemane, whenever you come into contact with an issue. You can adapt, you can think and be ingenuitive. That's not a word. You can use ingenuity to get around, to birth new ideas and new possibilities, all within the structure of space-time, very Saturnian, Moon and Capricorn. Do it in a beautiful, balanced way, Sun and Libra, right? Polarity. And the seeds of polarity were planted in Lyra, and it's saying, yes, the scales exist. Don't pick one over the other at the expense of them. Try to find a balanced way. Try to use your head to find new ways to do that, right? You want to be authentic to yourself and your calling. There's things in your reality that are true to you. There's things in your reality that will never change. There's things in your reality that will always change. Find the medium between that, right? Eat dessert before dinner. Have fun. We're here to have fun, but do it responsibly. We're here to be explorers, but not to like rape and pillage everything. We're here to be set boundaries, but do it with loving and kindness and care, right? And consideration. And we're here to have structure, but what? For life to thrive, not just for the sake of structure, right? The seeds of polarity, structure or not. No. It's like, try to find the balance. There's a yin and yang to that. Be authentic in what your balance means. Don't try to sell out for others. You'll never find you can't please other people. I mean, at some point you have to be considerate of other people and compassionate and all that stuff, but you have to live for yourself in the sense that you have operating methods and stuff that are going to be different than everyone around you. Eat dessert before dinner. Have ingenuity. Have the boldness to try new things with your idea. Dessert before dinner. Who'd have thunk? Oh my God! We do it traditionally the same way every time. Moon and Capricorn. And it's like, oh, let's play with this little Sun and Libra. Let's make this like a little different. Let's switch the order. Let's switch the scales, right? But they're still balanced. Let's just switch the order. Feel all of your feels with Opal. It's okay to be nervous when you're sitting out on new things. It's okay to be, to feel, heavy when you have a lot of responsibilities. Don't focus on them too much. Try to balance it out with others. If you're feeling heavy, breathe. Go to nature, right? Relax. If you're feeling too light stuff, find some structure. Find some rhythms. Find some balance. Find some accountability. But everyone's equation is going to look a little different, so realize that. Hit me up for readings if you want. I can tell you what your equation is and how to best operate through that equation. Your authentic true self and what it means for you. Have dessert. Have fun before dinner. Try. Experiment. Why not? Worst case scenario, you learn that, you lose a tooth from a cavity and you say, I can't do that anymore. Well, at least you know. Feel all your feels. There are no feelings that are bad in a sense. So if you feel jealousy, figure out why. If you feel anger, figure out why. If you feel joy, figure out why. If you feel hope, figure out why. Figure it out. Use your head, right? But realize that mind is even a limitation, so it's not all there always, if that makes sense. No podcast today, like I said. It was scheduled, but they're not going to happen. So tomorrow, I'm forgetting who it is, so I can't announce that. But check out the podcast we've been having. Great stuff. Team Rabbit Hole podcast. We're almost at 200 episodes. It's like 170 some odd episodes. So check it. You'll be grateful you did. Very mentally pioneering places. I mean, you'll dig it. Trust me. And yeah, hit me up for reading. 5-star reviews only. Everyone loves it. It's worth the time on my end because it can be multiple hours. It's worth the investment on you. Minimal investments. It's cheap compared to a lot of people, and most people, I'd say. And ultimately, yeah, have a day of trying new things, try new perspectives, challenge yourself to expand your consciousness a little in a stable and loving, caring, compassionate way. Right? Be the best father you can be. You'll be blessed with epiphanies and insights today, but don't look at it as a privilege, not a burden. Get out of the polarity game. It's all one thing. Don't pick sides, but be authentic to you. Simultaneity, right? It's like you are not everybody else. You cannot please everybody, so don't try to do that. It'll drive you nuts. And then you'll have a life that you never, that's one thing Japanese people bitch about, where they're like, we all think about each other's opinions about each other so much that none of us are living authentically. Some groupthink dynamics. Whereas in America, we're so authentic that like we don't take into consideration other people's feelings and stuff. It's a problem. Gotta find that balance. Eat dessert before dinner. Have fun out there, kids, but don't fucking avoid dinner and don't only eat dessert. Feel all your feels. They're all valid and reasonable, and you're here to process them and understand what they are. All right, hopefully that makes sense. So everyone, have a good day. Adios.